I'm having a burger with some, well, a couple patties with some mustard sprouts. And James is having his burger with an actual bun.
Bun?
A bun.
Dill pickles, which Pauline made, very well done. And I'm not a big fan of dill pickles, but Pauline's dill pickles on
I put a lot of dill in
burgers.
That's the
Well,
secret.
I actually don't like dill taste, but somehow or another she makes them so that I kind of like them, and I put them on top of the burgers. I don't like them much on anything else, but that's the important thing, is to find the right setting for food. And so this is the mustard, sprouted mustard seed. Tastes like mustard, but I think it's a lot healthier than mustard. Regular mustard, you were saying you could have made some, but
yeah, you can make your own mustard from mustard seeds if you want to.
But I don't
not
think
hard.
it's as healthy. The mustard seed, sprouted stuff concentrates the goodies, right?
It's in the winter, especially now that we're really quite trapped in due to COVID a lot of the time, or every time you go out,
you're worried.
You're thinking, should I really be out? And yet, anyway, so it's tough to get some fresh greens in the diet. Sprouts is an easy way to do that, and sprouts are really nutrient dense. So there's a lot of seeds that you can sprout, and I've shown
quite a few.
And they make tasty things. And mustard, very easy to sprout. It's as easy to sprout as alfalfa sprouts.
So you had them sitting in the windowsill yesterday, but that was part of a fairly long process. Now, and the relish you've talked about before, so I've spread it on
the ketchup.
This side. I always call it relish because it seems more like relish to me. But it doesn't have the consistency of relish. It doesn't have the exact consistency of what we think of as ketchup, because this actually has real food in it.
Well, the mustard sprouts, they're certainly a bit hot. A little goes a long way. You take a little bit with your...
So the good thing is these burgers are very, very dense. They're veggie stuff, but this is easily a filling meal for me, right? I usually don't want anything more. There might be raisins.
I may not be able to eat these two patties.
French word for grape, raisin. But there are usually recently there have been grapes on offer. I love grapes pretty well, but I haven't been craving them after eating something this apparently small. It's not really. You wanted to talk about...
And it's really affordable to buy, buy big bags of mustard seeds. I got a big bag from Great Canadian Wholesale, and I got a great big bag of chickpea flour, which is the
stuff that's dust all over.
It makes a terrible mess while I'm watching TV. I can't seem to get it to not make a mess. So everything, all the sofa that I'm sitting on, everything, the dogs, chickpea flour, everywhere. But anyway, there's a lot in the patties though. We ended off with, this is our second day talking about viral. And,
this one here.
Yeah, really good.
There we go. Yeah, it was quite good.
And we ended off yesterday talking about the secret garden and how it's this idea of getting back to Eden. There's a lot of push for that. A lot of people really want to imagine a garden. And at the beginning of this movie, actually, I didn't mention it. There was preview or whatever for I guess it would be a documentary about some people who bought some land in California and they're growing, and it looked like a really artistic sort of garden that they had. I mean, if you have paths in between your rows, then that's not as efficient. So,
As what?
as land that, like, there's a reason why over the years the shelter belts have went, and there's more, and mixed agriculture has went and stuff like that to the wayside, to the large part. Doesn't mean you can't do that sort of thing, but really the goal shouldn't be to do it for economic gains. I think it's just it should be to live with nature and not exploit anyone else, so that you can live with nature, so that you can be a part of the life that you're growing and then putting into your body, and then feeding in the cycle of things, right? So I don't know. I'll have to watch that documentary and see, but I did like the circular rows. They looked attractive, but it's that's each time there's a row, there's less space for plants, more space for people to walk. So that means it's going to be labor intensive. You're using human power, not mechanization. And is that going to mean exploiting workers? And then that's not quite as beautiful a dream as anyway. So we were talking about the Labour Party in the UK. Currently isn't in power. It's the party of the workers. It's used to be that if Jews had a problem with racism, they'd seek help from the Labour Party, but now the Labour Party's the problem.
This is in England. It is one of the problems. Believe me, they'd have some right-wing anti-Semitism. One thing they didn't talk about. They'll talk about it in France. Anywhere there's Muslims, there's going to be anti-Semitism. It just comes with the territory. We'll get into that with France, but it's there in England. It's here in Canada. It's in the United States.
All right. So, the mayor of London was interviewed. He admired Castro.
Wow. Yeah. Former mayor Ken Livingston.
Okay.
I think now they've got a something like a former, like descendants of third worlders or something like that, so-called third world. I think it's from Asia, but if you're from Asia, unless you're from northern Asia like Siberia, or if you're Negrito from let's say former Indochina, you're not a third worlder. If you got third world kind of economy, it's on you and your ancestors.
Okay. So this mayor, former mayor, whatever, suggested that Hitler was a Zionist.
Wow. This is the kind of stuff that Hitler went through. He's going, we hate communists, we hate Jews, we hate capitalists.
Not us.
So
don't use that
that's what
sound
Hitler
bite.
was saying. Yeah. Because people take stuff out of context. Yeah. People take. It's gotten the Democrats into trouble. This is the day after the so-called election, and Black Lives Matter have been taking stuff out of context, stirring up riots and stuff like that. And it's cost the Democrats. It might cost the United States severely the next 4 years and afterwards. I don't take stuff out of context. Anyway, Hitler was saying, the Jews are running a communist and a capitalist conspiracy. So this is what Labour people, NDP people, some, way too many here in Canada, some Bernie Sanders type of buttheads. Now, one has to be careful with Bernie Sanders. I said type. Bernie Sanders is a Jew himself. I don't know if he's a self-hating Jew, as some Jews style it. They want to style him that. That's their prerogative. I don't want to get involved in that sort of stuff. It's not my business to be calling out Jews. It's tough to be a Jew anywhere in the world, basically, today. Probably anywhere in the world for the last 2,000 years. So, yeah. So this has been a little trope of the left wing. The left wing love tropes because they're seeing them everywhere, except really when they use them. They misuse them horribly. What they really like is the what else should we style it? Oh yeah, the metaphor and then the hyperbolic metaphor. It's a double trope. So they'll compare, oh okay, Jews to the Nazis and or you know, like the right wingers, and then it's got to be Nazis. You know, it's not even fascist. So the metaphor, you know, there's when they do their own metaphors, they're true, and then they make them hyperbolic. They're true and they're awful. Go ahead.
Okay, so Hitler was a Zionist.
Now, don't take that out of context.
No,
Yeah.
I do not think that.
That's
So,
what
the
full
Jews
leftists
worked
say.
with Hitler to create Israel.
Or not so much creative, but Hitler was for it, for a Jewish state. Well, yeah, really. He wanted
Yeah,
to get.
because you sure saw Hitler tossing people off towards Israel, eh?
Well, he wanted to get them out of Germany. No one would take them. And this, incidentally, is one of the main reasons why we've got liberal refugee laws. In some places in the world, generally places where there are democracies. Oh, you know, we can never let happen to anyone what happened to the Jews. Yeah, what happens if folks who want to come in are anti-Semites? What happens to the poor Jews? Where did they run to now? Literally, where do they run to now? As I've said many times before, and you're going to hear it from me again and again. We, i.e. the democracies, are the last refuge for the refugees. There's no place to run afterwards. And we'll get to, at the end of this, why that's a problem. Okay? Go on.
Okay. So Jeremy Corbyn, headed up Labour, nearly won last election, was quoted as inviting his friends from Hamas and Hezbollah.
Some of his friends. I don't want that misquoted.
Okay.
The one thing they were showing had him saying, I'll have some friends of mine from if you've got any friends in Hamas, if you've got any friends in Hezbollah, you are a friend of nasty terrorists. They're both terrorist organizations. I'm not saying that because they've been branded as such, let's say by the United States Foreign Department or anything like that. It's the way they behave, it's what they believe in. Hamas, it's part of their charter, it's pointed out in the doc here, the documentary, does not believe in the state of Israel, believes in the extermination of the state of Israel. I don't think it really matters to them terribly much what happens to the Jews that have their country stolen out from under, and their religious sites plural, stolen out from under their toes.
Okay. Corbyn says the Israelis are occupiers,
Wow, that's
and they are the
interesting.
real threat. So Corbyn doesn't see Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorists.
So, occupiers. That'd be like someone walking out of the Guyanai Reserve or Blood Reserve, or whatever you want to. You are occupiers. We got a frack here. We're entitled to. We've been around here long, long time. No. The Jews have a long record of being there. And that's not in their own records. So you'll get all sorts of faux lefties going around. You know that there's no record of the Jews occupying the Holy Land outside of their own records. Fake history. This is not Donald Trump calling fake on something. I study this kind of stuff. There's all sorts of records of the Jews being there long before Arabs were there, long before Muslims were there.
Okay. Toulouse school shooting. Jewish children were
Now
shot.
we've jumped over to France, okay?
Oh yeah, I did, without telling you.
Hmm?
Jews in France are wondering if they should leave and move to Israel. France isn't safe for them anymore.
Wow, that's interesting.
1/3 of Muslims in France are anti-Semitic,
Ooh, and that's
and compared to 5% in the rest of the population, they say. And
5 to 10%, they said. And
Okay.
this was a French official. It would be 10%, I suspect. Okay, so 3 times is seriously higher. The French have had a long and strong tradition of being anti-Semitic. So that has to be clarified. It's not 5%.
no, I doubt it's 33% for the Muslims in France.
It's hard to say. It depends on how many are secular and how many are honest. It is written in the Quran many times that there's more than once the Jews are the worst of Muslims' enemies. Basically, the way they're the hardest to convert. They're the most resistant. Multiple times Jews are compared with unclean type of animals. I will run through the stuff, and anyone with any sort of sense is going to say, well, there you go, it's written. It doesn't have anything to do with the so-called occupation, with what happened in 1948, and the Jews moving into their traditional lands that has their most holy site. Here they mentioned, this is the Muslim third holy site in Jerusalem. It's trumped, and I'm not using that as a pun, it's trumped by a religion's most holy site. And it's based on a claim by Mohammed that Jews have no need to recognize. The story is one of kind of like a night flight to Jerusalem. You wouldn't be able to document it so that someone who wasn't part of the religion, Muslims are welcome to believe whatever they like, but what they believe in can't be imposed on other people who don't believe in this stuff. So, okay, he had his night flight to Jerusalem. That's good. It didn't happen in reality or anything like that. He didn't put his feet on the ground or whatever. Jews aren't required to believe that. I don't believe one way or another. I don't care about it. But the thing is, there's stuff in the ground, despite this fake archaeologist from Scandinavia, I think it's Sweden, last name Thompson, who's been going around trying to deny Jewish history. So, for example, there was something found in the far end of the so-called Holy Land, the unholy land, I think it's Tel Dan in the north, that said, it just had something like the House of David. And Thompson was so, he should have been run out of the business for making a charge like this. You cannot do it. It's just absolutely libel, and if he said it out loud, slander. He said the archaeologists who did that manufactured the so-called evidence and stuff like that. Shameful, absolutely shameful. One of these days I want to do a paper, at the very least. It probably would be a book, and it'll go back through the ages. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. There's a strong strain of anti-Semitism in Lutheranism in Germany, and Lutheranism was kind of like the official church of, probably more than kind of, until recently, relatively recently, in the Scandinavian countries. Martin Luther made the mistake of appealing to the Jews, and they didn't find him appealing enough. And so they kind of rejected him, and he was an anti-Semite as a result. And I'm afraid this has spread to any place where Lutheranism ruled. the roost pretty well any place. Maybe some Lutherans have what they really should do is go through the writings of Martin Luther and point out which ones, maybe put out a red letter edition of all his works, complete works, and point out where he's anti-Semitic, where he made this mistake of appealing, in an unappealing, in a so unappealing fashion, to the Jews, and there should be apologies made. The Swedes have not acknowledged, for example, their role, not exactly intentional, but their role in maintaining the Holocaust, because they were, in a principled fashion, maintaining themselves as neutrals, but they were neutrals leaning to the right by providing Hitler with some of the best iron ore in the world, keeping his army going, tanks, armaments, cannons.
Okay, so this documentary, although I've said before I'll recommend it, and everyone should watch it. I think they did a great job. There's a lot of information there to look up. It focuses on U.S., Hungary, England, France. It doesn't
What's
look
wrong
at
with this picture?
worldwide anti-Semitism. And it talks, like the title says, Anti-Semitism in 4 mutations. And so I guess they're saying, well, this is just 4 places, 4 different ways. No, it's anti-Semitism all has the same sort of, there are no 4 mutations of it. It's just one thing. And this is what a lot of people don't want to recognize. I remember when I was young, a teenager, I thought for sure that Hitler must have been right-wing. He was a right-winger, and then I learned that it was the left wing that brought Hitler into power. And
one has to be careful, but keep going.
And well, it could happen either way. That what really it's the yellows. The yellows. They cannot be trusted. They're and they've done this before, and they'll do this again. They're dangerous. Okay. So, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing happening again. It's just there's not a mutation. There's no mutation of anti-Semitism.
It goes on and on.
Yeah. So
mutation perhaps suggests it gets worse. Not really. It just goes underground, comes back out again. Goes underground, comes back out again. So the big problem with this is it's giving 4 mutations, as they call it, 4 different aspects of it. 4 different countries. They're all European, or an extension of Europe. So we've got England, France, Hungary, and then the United States. Oh, that's a very small piece of the world, population-wise, and even in terms of land area. What's being left out? The Middle East is being left out. Russia's being left out. I don't know what it's like in China. I don't like what it's like in Japan and stuff like that. It's spread throughout Africa. You could probably find some heavy anti-Semitism, at least of a certain sort. Although the people white people who helped put, so-called white people, who helped put the ANC into power were people of color that are labeled white. They were labeled white even by Jews themselves. They're people of color. Europe during World War II. This isn't just Germany. There were lots of collaborating countries helping in the slaughter of the Jews. They made the definitive decision about whether Jews were Europeans or not. When you're slaughtering half of the Jews or more within Europe, you've made the definitive decision that they're not Europeans. And anyone who insists they're Europeans is basically and saying that they've got to go back or something like that. They are just wanting to get the Jews, whether or not they realize it, down in their guts. They want the Europeans to carry out the final solution on the Jews. So with left-wingers, It's a different kind of left-winger. With the Nazis, they in their name they tell you they're left-wing, and they tell you twice. They also tell you that they're nationalists. So it's the German National Socialist Workers' Party. Okay, so what is it? No, it's the German National Socialist Workers' Party. There we go. So 2 of them are nationalists in German, and 2 of them are socialists, left-wing, so-called left-wing, workers and socialist party. Party's kind of neutral. So I had an interlocutor, say to me a while back, well, you got to be internationalist to be a socialist. Yeah, if only I could get all socialists to believe that. But, the Labour Party, in a large swatch of the Labour Party, are not international enough to include Jews in their little protective umbrella and stuff like that. Ultimately, what the internationalists of my childhood, and they still exist out there, they're still, for example, think Putin's the cat's pajamas or something like that. I don't know. Their internationalism was just Russian chauvinism, Soviet chauvinism. I can style it as that. So, one thing that wasn't pointed out, what did the Hungarians and the French have in common? They have Catholicism in common. This is something that is a strain. They're not very good at understanding where the stuff comes from. Catholics have the problem with Jesus killed Jesus was killed by the Jews, therefore they're
ignoring
in
the fact
perpetuity.
that Jesus was a Jew.
Jesus was a Jew.
So was Mary. So was Joseph.
So was Joseph. So was God, actually. And according to the conception, he was the God of Israel, right?
Sure.
That's
if
the
you
way it's
look at
portrayed in the Old
things different
Testament.
ways,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to see things when I was young. I think, well, Jesus must have looked Jewish. And then later on I got to realize, well, Jesus, when after the resurrection, he's not recognizable. But yet, somebody, in passing, it's like, well, afterwards they're like, that was Jesus, I didn't recognize you at first, kind of thing, But I've come to realize, I remember there was a woman, she was very yellow, and she was a white woman. She was telling me about how Jesus was a black man. And I thought...
yellow. There we go.
So, I thought, well, given where he was born, and I think he probably looked Jewish, But then I was thinking about it.
The Bible says he's from the house of David, so descended from David.
But I was thinking about it, and given that once Jesus, Jesus could heal people with his hands and manifest a whole bunch of food to feed everybody that was around, and